Well, people are wondering how Man of Steel is going to be success-wise, because the reviews have pretty much been right down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are in love with it, and people are the other side.
Okay.
But it made a shitload of money in late shows last night. So, box office-wise, which was another big concern besides the reviews, should be okay.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, like back when, I guess it was just the gargantuan level.
Going after Superman?
Going after The Dark Knight Rises.
Wow.
Everybody was all... when The Dark Knight Rises was out, and that first trailer for Man of Steel came out, nobody gave a shit about Man of Steel back then.
No.
Like, people were just kind of, we have Batman movies, who needs Superman? Why do we need to bring Superman back? Because everybody hated Superman Returns.
Not everybody.
I don't know why.
This guy. And this guy, too. We both like Superman Returns.
I love Superman Returns, and I really don't get what people, hate about it.
It doesn't hurt that your favorite actor's in it, either.
Casting Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor was a stroke of genius that will probably never be matched.
Indeed.
Despite the fact that, Gene Hackman and Michael Rosenbaum made their own.
Yeah.
Great interpretations, but, Spacey's Spacey. And to me, that's obviously not going to...
Well, not at all.
It's like, insert sports analogy. I was a little worried when Man of Steel started because everybody's big complaint when a reboot happens is we have to go through the origin story again.
Yeah.
And people were wondering maybe, it'll be kind of a different origin story because all the trailers depict, Clark, but he's got like the beard and he's got he's in random places. But no, the very first scene of the movie is Kal-El being born. That's how much of an origin story this is.
You can't go any further back than that.
Well, you could, but nobody wants to see Russell Crowe fuck.
No, they don't.
But anyway.
Never.
You go all the way back to when he and Laura, was her name, when they first met.
Yeah.
If you really want to go origin, but
Zack Snyder had like a 4-hour movie.
But anyway, the beginning was so much like Abrams' first Star Trek, when we see Kirk being born during an action scene.
Yeah.
It felt just like that. And that wasn't my only worry. This will sound like a magnificent insult, but, it depends on where you're coming from.
Okay.
Obviously, we've all gotten to know Krypton as this place with, like, a bunch of ice, and you got the crystals. And
yeah.
You got the floating brand of head. And I don't know about anybody else, but when I first saw Zack Snyder's Krypton, it looked like a forgotten set piece from John Carter.
It was a utopian society.
I don't know which one is considered more accurate by fans, but I don't know the Donner movies. I don't know like how accurate they are to fans.
Okay.
I have no idea I don't really know any Superman fans, so I don't know if you're supposed to say loyal to the comics or loyal to the Donner movies, or if those are one and the same. I have no idea. But this. I was taken by what Krypton looked like, basically.
Yeah.
And I was concerned. But then, as the case with any movie, your concern pretty much leaves when Michael Shannon walks on the screen.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon makes you feel... Despite how creepy he is, Michael Shannon always makes you feel like you're going to be okay, as far as a movie's quality.
All warm and fuzzy inside when you see Michael Shannon pop on the screen.
With his short little bangs. I don't know what that was.
His weird, like, gray in his goatee.
Yeah. He doesn't start with the douche beard. He gets the douche beard later.
Yes.
But,
looks like Oliphant at some points during the movie.
Yeah. Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant, and Josh Duhamel are all part of some dysfunctional family.
I got a weird Bam Margera vibe from him in a couple scenes, too.
Their heads are the same shape.
Yes. Very much so.
We're getting really off.
Sidetracked.
we're not even 30 seconds into the movie itself, and we completely sidetracked. We've compared Michael Shannon to Bam Margera in this fan.
Mind blown. Is there a red
Okay.
dot on your head right now?
Well, now that most Superman fans have already gotten bored with this video and left, let's continue. I couldn't help but notice that people hate Zack Snyder because of all of his slow-mo.
Yeah.
That's what he's known for. Like, if you were to take all the slow-mo out of Zack Snyder's movies, they'd be like 45 minutes long each. But this really has a huge lack of slow-mo in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But in case you forgot that it was Zack Snyder for a second, he likes to... I've never really read up on this, like if he does it on purpose. These things might not be on purpose. They may just be me looking into things too much.
Okay.
Zack Snyder loves to call back 300.
Oh, yeah.
The first case was in Watchmen, where I think it's when they break into the comedian's apartment in the first scene.
Yeah.
I think his door says 3001.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when the assassin breaks in, he throws his coffee mug at the door, and it breaks the 1 off, and for a split second it says 300. And then in this, obviously everybody, this is the internet, you're on YouTube, of course you know the most famous line from 300. Well, you also know the lead into that line, and sure enough, Zod's first scene, he comes in, and he's talking, you know, his villainy talk, and Russell Crowe says, "This is madness."
This is madness.
Okay, we get it.
This is Krypton!
We get it, Zack Snyder, you're very proud of 300.
Yes.
But,
Very proud of 300.
So, it's what you expect, where
Yeah.
it's a combination of the beginning of Superman 1 and the beginning of Superman 2, where Krypton's like being destroyed, and Zod like kills Jor-El literally, and then he like I said, when it comes to the Superman movies, I don't know what's supposed to be the way it is.
Yeah.
So I can't really judge that.
Can't really talk to Superman fans because I really don't know any of them.
But basically the plot is, it's kind of like, it kind of makes the origin story worthwhile because it's not there just to be an origin, it sets up the plot for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So obviously they've sent Kal-El off to Earth because Krypton's going to blow up. And of course, Zod's all pissed off. And he vows that he's going to find him, as you see him screaming in the trailers. They really build that line up, too. He says, "I'm going to find him," like 6 times before he finally screams. And then, of course, I kind of like that it's not, like, completely in plotting chronological order. We're cutting back and forth between him as, like, a young adult and how he's going through life, and when he was a kid and was, like, trying to hide his powers and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be one of those reviews that's all over the place. Sorry.
That happens.
I should probably just put out front right here that I actually like it, the movie itself, quite a bit. But there are some things that are, you know, a little off. But for the most part, people are going to pick this movie apart because it's a big blockbuster superhero movie. And with the way everybody fell in love with Nolan's movies, it's now, you know, you're this really cool, edgy guy if you pick apart every single thing wrong with superhero movies.
Yeah.
Like, but, you know, people are going to do this with this, too, and they'll probably see a shitload wrong with it, but, you know, a big problem everybody has is, like, you just see, they just want to hate it because everything's so hyped up. Like, there are people who are going to think this is like a masterpiece, and they will literally fight you to the death if you say otherwise. But
yeah.
If you point out just one slight flaw, they will, you know, kill you in your sleep. But I'm kind of in the middle of those people.
Yep.
I'd like to think so anyway. There are a few movies where I will, you know, fight you to the death if you point out anything wrong with it. But
very true.
A big problem that everybody loves to bitch about with this movie, apparently, according to early reviews, is the product placement.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about that. For starters, if product placement bothers you, you have the attention span of a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And you need to just stop bitching. Secondly, everybody's talking about how everything needs to be realistic, everything needs to be grounded in reality. Like, if something, outrageous happens, it's all, that's not realistic, that would never happen. Well, people who bitch about product placement apparently think that IHOPs and 7-Elevens and Sears should not exist in movies, ever.
Yeah, I mean, they're in small-town Kansas. I mean, come on, that stuff's gonna be there. It could be around. It could be in the background.
I mean, it was a little blatant. Like, there were parts where it was, redundant. Like, the scene, like, they're having this big thing, and Sears is in the background.
Yeah.
And then they, like, the action scene has subsided, and now they're talking to Chris Maloney and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we just get one final shot of an overlook, and it's one last shot of the big Sears building. But, and that 7-Eleven sign seems to keep changing places.
Yeah.
But product placement has been a thing since the beginning of time, and I don't know why people still... It's beating a dead horse complaining about it, and it's always going to be. That's how, that's just the way it is. There's the Lone Ranger is tied into Subway right now. Given the way the Lone Ranger said, I would love to see the Lone Ranger and then just like a fucking Subway go. That would make the movie better, probably.
That would be great.
But anyway, the moral of the story is that's the only scene with it too.
Yeah.
Like, people are making it like this big deal. Like,
I thought it was gonna be a bigger deal than it was.
I expected one of Clark's jobs to be he works at fucking McDonald's, but no, there's.
Would you like to supersize that?
They're having this big ass fight towards the end of the movie, and there's an IHOP over here, a 7-Eleven here, and a Sears there. That's the only product placement I noticed.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like when people that's the thing. If I hadn't read about the product placement, I probably wouldn't have even been thinking about it. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even notice that. But
it's small town America. That's how it works. That's realism. It really is.
But yeah, I will say that a big problem I had, like, I'm not like this massive Superman fan. I watched the first 3 or 4 seasons of Smallville, and I've seen the other movies. That's all I know. I've read a few graphic novels, Batman graphic novels that Superman just happened to be in.
Of course.
But that's it. But based on the stuff that I have seen, this actually doesn't feel like a Superman movie. And what I mean is, this is gonna sound like an insult, but it's kind of a criticism, but it is what it is.
Okay. This
doesn't feel like a Superman movie. It feels like they just took another superhero and did the same thing with him that he's... This looks like DC is known for being darker, the Dark Knight movies and Watchmen, and, they do that,
Yeah.
Man of Steel looks like a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because it's, you got the... There are two... I don't like to say, superheroes are superhero movies are superhero movies, so it's kind of redundant to say, well, this looks too much like this and this looks too much like that.
But...
That little fight I was talking about that they have in Kansas looks so much like the end of Thor.
Yeah.
And then they go to the city at the end of the movie, and the aliens are up here and they're coming down. It's like, did Superman accidentally fly into New York during the Avengers? Or, he even disposes of them almost the same way.
Yeah.
But,
Can't beat him, join him.
I guess. But, the thing, as far as, Smallville goes, a lot of people complain, a lot of people that hate Superman because there's nothing to him. He's completely invincible, thus making him a pretty boring character.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, it was highly publicized. There's no kryptonite in this movie.
No.
So... he's not really, there are a couple of times where Zod finds ways to get him, submitted. But
yeah.
For the most part, I'd love to know. People said this about the Avengers too. I'd love to know the body count that came from innocent people, where during the big fight scenes they're just destroying buildings and vehicles left and right.
Yeah.
The town couldn't have been completely deserted, and there's got to be some innocent casualties in there.
A lot more than you would imagine. Everybody's running from their lives from the Daily Planet, then all of a sudden you just see, like,
did they even
carnage everywhere.
Did they even say the name Metropolis? I don't think they did.
Maybe once. I think it might have been on a computer screen one time.
That kind of annoys me, because, like I said, I really do like the movie, but I'm just getting the criticism out of the way first. It seems really dumb to me when they come in and they're like, alright, we're going to do Superman, we're going to do it the right way, we're going to get rid of the ridiculous stuff. I just want to lay this out here. This is what had to go in the meeting before they started writing.
Okay.
Okay. So we have this alien baby. And he comes down to Earth. And, of course, you know, he's invincible because he's an alien. But since he's on Earth, he's going to use his powers to put on a cape and become a superhero. That sounds awesome, man. Yeah, but he can't wear those red trunks. I mean, that would just be ridiculous.
You're John Petersoning this question right here.
He's an alien baby who comes from an alien planet and lands on Earth. He's raised as a human, but he still has his superhuman abilities.
Yep.
So he puts on a red cape and blue tights and becomes a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
But the red trunks have got to go because that's too ridiculous.
Let's bring in some mesh. Lots and lots of mesh.
It's just like, let's not have Clark wear the glasses because that's ridiculous. Let's not,
Till the very, very end.
Even your goddamn spoilers.
I'm sorry. Oh, come on, tell me people are not going to watch this movie.
Well,
I can spoil the whole thing right now, and people wouldn't care because they're like, well, yeah, we saw it last night. Rah. So.
Well, you know, regardless, you got to be considerate just in case.
My Conan O'Brien.
That's the way.
Pushing up the glasses.
That's the way reviews work. Like, remember how pissed off people got at Ebert because the first paragraph of his review of Super talks about Ellen Page's death.
Oh, God. I did not know about that. I would be mad about that.
So, you know, that's, yeah. You gotta be careful with spoilers. Maybe they didn't hear you.
Probably not.
So, yeah, there's no kryptonite. He doesn't wear the glasses. He's not a journalist at the Daily Planet. You know, throughout the movie. Like, one of the big things about the original movies is, you look at Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
What makes Iron Man so different from the rest of the superheroes is everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that he's Tony Stark. That's kind of the way Superman is in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Like, the first thing he does when he meets Lois is use his powers. And, there's never really a time where, like, the flashbacks, like when he's a kid,
yeah,
he has to hide his identity.
Of course.
You know, Costner saying you can't. Costner actually tells him he maybe should have let a school bus full of children die just to keep his powers a secret.
He literally says maybe.
Yeah.
And you just look at him like, really?
Well, his identity is pretty much not a secret the entire time he's an adult in this movie.
Correct.
Like, they don't, like, I suppose maybe it's a joke, like as if to say, hey, all you old superhero fans, just so you know, this is all it would have taken to figure out that Clark Kent was Superman to normal people. Just do a chain of events that leads you back to the Kent farm, and there you go.
Fair enough.
Well, you know, I don't know how I feel about whether you should pander to the fans or not. Because it could go either way. Like, sometimes it's really bad and really cheesy, but then there's, like, the way J.J. Abrams does it in Star Trek is fine.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's because Star Trek just came out and the fans are so used to being pandered to as much as they can by someone like Abrams. Then you have, like, Nolan and Goyer who are saying, like, you know, no, we gotta pick all this stuff out. And, you know. So, it just depends on how you feel about whether it should be fan-friendly or if it should go in a new direction. But maybe like repeat viewings will help with this, but I just found it really distracting how far off from the source material they tried to go. Because it seemed like they tried a little too much to take all of the stuff that makes Superman what Superman is and just taking it and throwing it out. Like
yeah.
You know. So, you know, I guess that's a little awkward to get used to, but I suppose they even changed Jonathan Kent's death.
Really?
In Smallville, you know, the old movies, and probably even the comic books, Jonathan Kent simply dies of a heart attack.
Okay.
That's it. Wow. In this movie, you probably keep hearing about the controversy about the tornado scene that they briefly considered taking out because of what happened. But of course, you know, they didn't. And now that you've seen the movie, they can't. Because this tornado is what kills Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
So, it is a nice moment, though, because, like, it is kind of anticlimactic that Jonathan Kent just dies of a heart attack. Whereas in this, him dying on the tornado, like, you know, obviously Clark should have gone in and saved him.
Oh, yeah.
But the whole Jonathan Kent literally sacrificed himself to keep his powers a secret. You know, despite the fact that his secrets are wide out in the open for the rest of the movie, but...
He has a different definition of secrets than we all do.
Sorry, Costner. So, well, don't worry about Superman's parents, because he has two dads in this movie. There's his, you know, his real dad, Jor-El, which is Russell Crowe, and, you know, his Earth dad, who is Costner. Jor-El and Jonathan Kent are both dead, but they get a lot of screen time for dead guys.
Yeah. Especially Jor-El.
Yeah, because you have, just like the way they used the hologram of Brando's head in the original movies.
Mm-hmm.
I guess these are programmed to just have endless, you know...
Yeah.
Jor-El could say, like, I spent 20 years programming this hologram of myself to be able to talk to you and every possible question you may have.
Where do you find the time?
But, you know... Like I said, that goes back to, it's a movie about an alien that comes to Earth and becomes a superhero, so...
Yeah.
Why talk about what's illogical and what isn't?
Very true.
So, the lack of the city was a problem for me, too, as far as... When you think Superman, you think of, you know...
Metropolis.
The big metropolis city and people being saved in it.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're in the city, we're inside Perry White's office.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then, of course, you know the big fight in the ending where they just completely rip apart Metropolis, basically. It was like the ending Superman versus Zod fight reminded me a lot of the Harry Potter versus Voldemort fight.
Yeah.
Because it was just all over the place. But they're in that, it looked like Antarctica. I don't think they specified where they were exactly. No. But they were either there, or they were in Kansas, or they were in space.
Yeah.
They stayed away from the city as much as they could. This... I know you want to be your own thing, and you want to seem original, but... Why change so much?
John Peters. That's what comes to mind immediately when you keep bringing this up, the fact that John Peters might as well have been a ghostwriter on this, because this is all the stuff he didn't want in his Superman script.
Well, he was the executive producer on this.
That would make sense, then.
You didn't see his name go by?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
That's the reason why this is all going down the way it is.
Well, let's talk about the cast.
Name-wise is harder for me, but we'll talk about the main people.
The great thing that this movie does, and that the other movies did, was Superman has a lot of characters you have to cover.
Yeah.
There's everybody on Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the Kent family. Then you have you have Lois Lane, and then you have Perry White, and you just have these big cast lists. But they're all... The movie moves along pretty well. A lot of people will probably say differently, but this movie never felt too long to me. Mm-hmm. Like, there was never a time in the movie where I said, hurry up, despite its length. But we'll start with Henry Cavill, who was controversial because everybody was like, you know, who's this tool bag? Which everybody says when Superman's cast. Like, everybody hates Brandon Routh. I thought Brandon Routh was perfectly fine.
He was perfectly fine.
Like, when people were talking about another Superman movie coming out, I was the one saying, just bring Brandon Routh back. But, you know, he's actually good, you know. Like, he he's never unconvincing. You know,
he works as Superman, and he works as Clark Kent too.
And it kind of Smallville fans. There are plenty of times in this movie where, like, let's be honest, Henry Cavill a lot of the time looks like Tom Welling.
I can see that.
So it was pretty easy, you know, to just kind of, you know, because he, like, I've been watching interviews with him just to see how he's handling it, and he said, like, for the longest time it didn't even register. Like, when he got a call back after his audition, he was prepared to just get rejected and move on. And when the call said that he had gotten the part, it took him, like, apparently it still hasn't completely fully registered. But yeah, I think he's gonna be fine. The sequel's already been greenlit, and obviously Financing will be fine because the money is coming in. So, you know, he owns that first credit in this magnificent cast list. I do love Amy Adams,
yes,
like, as an actress, you know, but I was thinking it when she was cast, and I'm still thinking it now. Even though she's not bad, she's Amy Adams, she's not... Bad's not really her thing, ever.
No, not at all.
But I think she's a boring choice.
Well, here's the thing, though. I didn't watch the Donner movie, so I have no recollection about that. The only Superman I have is Returns and Lois and Clark, which I used to watch on a regular basis. So the only real Lois Lane I have is Terry Hatcher. So, and Kate Bosworth, exactly. I don't remember Lois Lane being such a fighter, if you will. She seemed to be more of a damsel in distress.
You were going to say ball buster.
I was going to say something like that.
And one of her first lines is, they're, like, talking over with her, and they're like, we're soldiers, or you're a female reporter, and she's all like, well, if we're done measuring dicks.
Yeah, that was funny.
Well, you know...
She turned to Jessica Chastain right there.
Yeah, I think ever since The Fighter, everybody's trying to make Amy Adams this tough girl now.
Yeah, but Lois Lane's not a tough act at all.
Well, there were times.
Well, I don't really, like I said, I don't really know anything about the Superman mantra, and you guys are probably going to rip me apart for this, but I mean, when it comes down to it, the Lois Lane I know is the damsel in distress. Always needing help whenever she gets caught.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, you know, we're in this society now where, like, if you... Oh, God, I'm going to get in so much trouble for this.
Are you using the girl power line?
You're basically going to be burned at the stake if you don't make...
Everyone has to be equal, I get that.
You get where I'm going, I don't even have to say it.
But Lois Lane, it's not that, it's just Lois Lane is an iconic comic book character I really don't know much about. But what I do know about basically tells me that she is not a fighter. She's the one who gets rescued. It's not her thing to fight back.
Yeah, well, you know, reporters, you know, just in general, no matter who they are, if you're a reporter, you have a certain pushy quality about you.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's always going to have that.
Yeah, I get that.
Just with the character, automatically. So, you know, she's not the most interesting of characters, so there's not really much Amy Adams could have done that she didn't do.
No.
It's just, you know. There's, I'm going in the order that's on the poster in my head.
Well, you should save the final one for last, obviously.
Next on the poster is Shannon.
I want to save him for last.
The last will be Crow.
Oh.
As I said before, you know, if your movie looks like it's about to crash and burn, just bring Michael Shannon in and he'll save the day no matter what you're in.
See, he's like just like Dwayne Johnson is right now. He will save your movie, but Dwayne Johnson's the guy that saves franchises.
Let's be honest, because not a lot of you may know this. Michael Shannon is like this very well-known, very well-respected actor now.
Yeah.
He's gonna, especially after this, he will be even more. I gotta be honest with you, and the man himself has said it. The only reason we know Michael Shannon, and he is because he is who he is today, is because of Michael Bay.
That's just crazy.
He had a small part in Pearl Harbor. And they were done, and then Michael Bay had to do reshoots, and he liked Shannon and actually called him back in to do more scenes. And then they cast him in, like, Bad Boys 2 and I think another movie.
Mm.
And that's where his, that's where he got into, that's where he started moving along in movies. He was on the stage for a while. Like, he did, according to Lawrence Fishburne, he saw Michael Shannon do Killer Joe. He was, I'm assuming he was playing Chris.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because Scott Glenn was Joe at the time. But, yeah, Shannon, like, he goes over the top when he has to, and he does his evil eyes thing when he has to. Shannon really rocks the evil eyes many times.
Premium Rush is a great spot of that, too.
Yeah. Yeah, Premium Rush is actually one of my favorite Shannon performances of all the great things that he has.
Without question. His laugh is just gold.
But yeah, he's, people probably think he's a lot of people complain he was too over the top in Premium Rush, despite the fact that that's what the role called for.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too over the top.
So, I knew he was the perfect casting choice when I heard he was cast, and now that I've seen it, I stand by it.
Yeah.
So, next is Costner. Costner is, I hated Jonathan Kent so much on the show, on Smallville, because, I don't know, he was just so annoying about the whole, I don't know if it's Costner. Obviously, Costner has this appeal about him because he's fucking Kevin Costner.
Yeah, exactly.
He has a gentler way about him. Like, he has that. There's been a lot of movies where Costner plays this part, but he always does it so well. Where there's a lot of comforting in him, but at the same time he can be stern. But they come together to where his character is completely. You're never against him.
Yeah.
Like, even, like, the character of Jonathan Kent should be hated when it's revealed that he thought maybe the school bus full of kids should have died.
Yeah.
But he has that human way about him, the way he delivers the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's also, the scene where he's talking about how he shows young Clark the ship that he came in, and Clark's, starting to break down because it's like, I'm not really your son, and then, he comforts him and says, of course, you're still our son.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nothing against, what's his name? Schneider. He was on the Dukes of Hazzard.
John Schneider.
Yeah. Nothing against his performance on Smallville, but, Costner was. It's not a big part, and I do kind of resent it because him being in this movie is why he couldn't be in Django.
Oh.
But, regardless, he was great for the part, as small as it is. Let's see, I think Diane Lane might be next. She's alright.
She was a good motherly character.
Yeah, well, what was funny was, she's kind of used to this.
Mm-hmm.
The whole being the mother of an outcast thing.
Yeah.
I basically felt like she was an older version of, her character in Jack.
Yeah?
The Robin Williams movie by Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing about having to raise a kid that's treated like a freak and, is different. And it's pretty much the same performance.
Wow.
Just without the sloppy joes and chocolate pudding. There might have been off screen, I don't know.
Could have been.
I feel like I skipped somebody, because next should be Lawrence Fishburne. I think it's funny. This has nothing to do with his performance, but I'm just going to say it's funny that Lawrence Fishburne is a black guy. And this is now the second case of, in this, he's Perry White. And in Mystic River, he played a guy named Whitey Powers. I think Cowboy Curtis wants to be white. Because, Perry White's normally a white character.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of, I don't know why, because, nobody cares about race anymore.
The Lane Smith character from Lois and Clark is what I always remember about.
And he was Frank Langella in Returns.
Yep.
Normal thinking people don't care about race anymore is what I meant by that.
Kingpin. And Daredevil.
Yeah.
That's a big one right there.
So, you know, Fishburne does what he, you know, he's a good, like, he's rocking the white beard and, you know. So, all is good. There's also, he didn't make the post, his name didn't make the poster, but Chris Maloney is also, problem is you have this gigantic cast list, and not, because there's so many people, it doesn't leave, some people have to get the shit end of the stick when it comes to screen time.
Maloney's one of the ones that got...
Maloney and Fishburne and Costner even. You know, I mean, it's not really Costner's fault because, you know, the character dies, but...
Michael Kelly didn't get much screen time either.
Yeah, he was like the replacement Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, I was wondering, where's Jimmy Olsen in this? I thought when Clark goes to the Daily Planet, I thought Jimmy Olsen was already there.
Well, you know, maybe that would have been one of the things that's too ridiculous. We got to throw it out because we're just throwing everything out.
Well, maybe when the sequel comes out, maybe he'll be in that.
Yeah, he'll be played by Shia.
I was thinking Ethan Embry myself.
Yeah. Oh, he looks old now, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I think his last movie was Vacancy.
Good lord.
And of course Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe obviously he has more screen time than I thought he would. And
for a dead guy, he's got a lot of screen time, just like you mentioned earlier.
You know, he killed. You know, at the beginning, Shannon stabs him and he dies just like he does at the end of Gladiator. But you know, he has to do a lot of speeches. But you know, he brings it well.
He's got the set of Les Mis. Obviously, he's going to be okay with doing a lot of dialogue.
I'm going to apologize to Superman fans. This is probably the worst review I've done yet. This is just all over the place. And we've been going for almost 40 minutes.
I'll say right now, honestly, and you know, I have this vendetta towards Russell Crowe, and I think I'll just throw it out there. The reason why I don't like Russell Crowe is because A Beautiful Mind, which I really didn't give a good chance to, it actually forced Moulin Rouge out of my theater, the one that I work at now, and I always had a problem with him. And Dennis Quaid, my problem with him is because of The Day After Tomorrow. But I will say that in Les Mis and in Man of Steel, Russell Crowe definitely got me. I mean, I really enjoyed his speeches.
He's also the only good thing about Broken City.
I totally agree with that 100%.
Another movie where they fucked him on screen time.
I don't want to think about Broken City.
So, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's, you know, people were out to get this right from the get-go when Zack Snyder was given the job, because people love to hate on Zack Snyder, because he made Sucker Punch. Well, you know, fuck you all, because I actually liked Sucker Punch, and I don't give a fuck if it came off, you know, sexist, or video game-like, or, you know, whatever. It's just a goddamn movie.
Yeah.
You know, because he also did Dawn of the Dead, the remake, obviously.
Yeah.
No, Zack Snyder actually, you know, ghost directed for George Romero in 1978. And he also did the animated movie Legend of the Guardians.
Which is actually really underrated, too.
Yeah, it's not really so much underrated, it is underrated.
No one knows what it is.
Nobody remembers it.
No.
But yeah, if you hate Zack Snyder, he didn't put slow-mo in this one.
Nope.
And it actually looks kind of like a Marvel movie, which...
It's chock full of action.
And everybody, you know, loves to hate on the DC movies because they're too dark. You know, Marvel does it better because Marvel is happy and light, you know. Man of Steel falls more into the Marvel category.
This is DC's Marvel movie.
Pretty much, yeah. As, you know, I'm being marked for death right now by massive DC fans. So, you know, whatever.
But there were some really good... But you said that there was a lot of things that they glossed over, didn't want to see him in this suit, you know, the John Peters deal. But there was a couple things they threw in as nice little PSs for true fans. Lana Lang was brought in. She was actually mentioned, so she actually had one scene. And they had when there was an action sequence and the LexCorp was used. So that was a nice little PS to say that Lex Luthor does exist in this world, but he's not here yet. So that he'll be coming in the near future.
They said they'll probably do the Dark Knight thing, where it wasn't until the second Batman movie in Nolan's trilogy that they brought in the biggest villain.
Yep.
So the second movie will probably bring in Lex.
Because the third one would have to bring in Brainiac if you want to talk about the big three.
Just don't fuck up Lex. Wouldn't it be great if
Hardy?
they finally did what everybody every Superman fan either they outwardly want it, or inside they want it, but they won't say it. The ideal Lex Luthor is Billy Zane.
He needs a career boost right now, so yes. Billy Zane, if you're seeing this video, you need to call Warner Brothers right now and just petition for the job.
You know, it's going to be... Because Gene Hackman was great at it, Rosenbaum was great at it,
Yep.
and obviously Spacey was great at it.
Yeah.
That's...
Do you have someone in mind that you would like to see?
Besides Billy Zane?
A
realistic choice?
A realistic choice, yeah.
No. I don't. I'd have to put thought into it.
You'd have to have someone that either would be willing to shave their head or someone who's already bald.
Now, let's see, Patrick Stewart's taken, Ben Kingsley's taken. Yeah, that whole everybody jumping on Ben Kingsley being a comic book villain, Iron Man 3 finally put that to rest. And I'm sorry he did it so disappointingly to some people.
Thunderbirds. I still shudder at that movie.
Okay. I think we've pissed off the Superman fans enough by... Seriously, that's the worst review I've ever done. I'm sorry.
Really?
But it is, go see it anyway. And if you don't like Zack Snyder, grow up. He makes... Maloney was talking about this on Katie Couric, I think. Yeah, Katie Couric had the whole cast out there.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Diane Lane and Russell Crowe. But everybody else was out there. And Maloney was talking about... Zack Snyder is like a guy... He's like in his 40s. But he's still, got that kid-like way about him. And, this is people making comic book movies and making movies in general. And every time you have... People say this about Kevin Smith and they say this about Tarantino and all that. They say directors need to grow up. When you're... This is like something you've always wanted to do, and you're on the set directing a Superman movie. Why tell somebody who is bringing their ultimate child fantasy to life, which should be encouraged?
Yeah.
Unless, you aspire to be a serial killer. But, this guy just wanted to, make big, fun, blockbuster movies. Who the fuck are you to tell this guy, stop having fun, you need to grow up when you make movies? What Chris Maloney was saying was, every single day, no matter what happened, Zack Snyder was on set with a smile on his face.
It's awesome, because that's what it's all about in the end.
Everybody in that you have Lawrence Fishburne, you have Kevin Costner, you have Michael Shannon, everybody was saying how great the experience of making this movie was, and how fun it was.
Oh yeah, of course.
Lawrence Fishburne gave this really inspirational speech about how it's like, we're in... The world's like a shitty place and all that. And we all know that, and especially with the tornado and stuff like that. And she asked Lawrence Fishburne if the tornado scene should have been taken out, and he said, "Of course not, because people need even if it's just fiction, people still need
Need an escape from reality.
So.
So movies are. Movies are escape from reality. You don't want it. You want to sit back for 2 hours and just forget the world around you. Just enjoy yourself.
I mean, if you don't like the movie for a number of reasons, okay. But I mean, if you're gonna
nitpick,
certain excuses you need to grow up when you make a Superman movie.
That does not compute.
Just if it's gonna be petty shit like that, obviously it's first off, obviously it's you that needs to grow up, and obviously we're talking about fucking movies, for God's sake. Come on.
It's about to entertain the masses. It doesn't matter what you do. And it's a plus if you have fun doing it.
And just, you people that, rely on... You people claim to be these great, movie fans. And, your opinion means, it's might as well be God's opinion. But there's so many people who let the die-hard fans influence their opinion.
Yeah.
What the fuck is up with these people that say, I'm sorry, but this movie is just so hyped, and people are just, everybody's saying this and everybody's saying that. Just
think for yourself.
What do you think?
Think for yourself. I mean, if you like this...
I just cannot enjoy this. The fans have ruined it for me too much. Everybody says that about Nolan movies. Good Lord. Just go watch the movie for yourself, for God's sake, because here's the thing. you may get on this high horse and you may get on this pedestal, but if you're gonna base your opinion on what other fans think, your opinion doesn't mean shit.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, opinions don't mean shit in general because, you know, everybody has a different one. But I mean, if you think your opinion has this big meaning to it, but you're basing it on what a diehard fan says and thinks, you know, it's even more worthless than it really is.
There's probably a video that you wouldn't have to look very hard to find. It's probably under your recommended videos right now as you watch this video that says Man of Steel, the greatest film of all time. There's got to be somebody that shows that
there's probably
perspective.
There's probably a thumbnail, like, right here.
Yeah.
Of a guy that says, like, it'll say, like, Man of Steel, you know, one of the worst movies of the year, and this guy with, like, a disgusted look on his face. He'll have, like, thick frame glasses, and he'll look like he's fucking 50.
It's probably in his basement, most likely. And it's a close-up shot of his face.
So, you know, give Zack Snyder a break, give the movie a break, just...
enjoy yourself.
And if you don't think you're gonna like it, why go to it just to continue to bitch about it? Because I know that's what you're gonna do. Holy shit, this review just made me angry, and I didn't mean it. Maybe we should move on now.
This could be interesting. This is an interesting video, folks. We're almost 50 minutes in.
Okay.
I couldn't see that.
So, yeah. If you like superhero movies, go. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And if you don't...
it's probably not your audience anyway.
Please don't talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go now. The next movie, we actually... pretty much everybody's seen by now, because it came out Wednesday, because it had to beat the Man of Steel crowd.
And I think it's going to take away some of the... not much, but it's going to take away a little bit of the Man of Steel audience.
The next movie is a pretty... it was pretty anticipated, too.
Yeah.
Because it's like this, it's basically like the, you know, what all the Avatar movies were leading up to, is this.
Yeah.
This is the End, which, by the way, is its fourth title.
Yeah.
It was originally based off a short that Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel made called Jay and Seth vs. the Apocalypse.
Yep.
The original script was called The Apocalypse. Then they changed it to The End of the World. But then Edgar Wright's The World's End was going to come out, so they changed it to This Is the End.
Yep.
To avoid confusion.
Makes sense.
Despite the fact that people still confuse This Is the End with The World's End, but, you know. This has been in the making for like a long time. Like I feel like this movie's had an IMDb page forever.
It really has. It's not as much as Sin City 2.
But Sin City 2 kind of always came and went, whereas this has always been there.
That's true.
It's pretty much everybody that's ever been in a Judd Apatow movie, almost, playing themselves, and the world's ending at a party at James Franco's house. You all know this already, of course. I just have to say for review's sake.
Of course.
This movie is getting a lot of acclaim. Like, I'm really surprised. It's already certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some critics saying it's the funniest movie they've ever seen. Or at least up there. Okay. Here's the thing. I like this movie, but it'll probably take... I plan on seeing it a few more times, at least, so it'll probably, you know, get better to me as it goes on.
Let me know when.
But in the meantime, Seth Rogen is a very, you know, he's really funny, he's really appealing, you know. I may hate Judd Apatow.
Yes.
But, you know.
Everyone should.
Apparently Apatow had nothing to actually do with this. Apparently this was all them free reign. But, you know, Rogen wrote and directed this. This is the first time he's directed a movie. Him and Evan Goldberg, who wrote Superbad, with him. Yep. And they just brought in everybody that they knew, basically. Everybody in their Rolodex. Oh, God, I lost what I was saying. I was talking about... Oh, yes. Despite the fact that Rogen is as appealing as he is, I can't help but notice that the movie makes it work, but his humor isn't exactly... doesn't really go in many directions.
That's true.
I counted 4 different kinds of jokes in this movie.
Okay.
Jokes about shit, jokes about cum, and jokes about pot and or other drugs. And references to, like, other movies.
Yeah. Bodily fluids, weed, and pop culture references.
And it's not really... I don't want to sound uptight when I say this. Humor doesn't always have to be witty, but they didn't really go for witty at all in this.
No.
Like, it's all shit, cum, drugs references.
LCD.
Just one right after the other, and it's like a continuous cycle. But
yeah.
Like I said, it's not like they don't make it work. It's just the humor felt very in one place.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that was kind of, But that's the thing about Apatow movies, because they started this thing. It was probably a thing a while back, but Apatow recently made it a big deal again, and it always comes back to him. It's not so much about jokes, and it's not so much about funny situations, and it's not about being witty.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that Apatow's movies are most famous for is they just want to spout off one-liners that everybody will be quoting.
Yep.
That may not even have any context. Like, most of them are improvised. So, that's why I love, like, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I liked Funny People.
Yeah.
But those moments where it's just like, these are the parts that everybody loves, too, but I just find it really... This is why Apatow's movies are so fucking long. Every Apatow movie breaks 2 hours.
It's ridiculous.
It's because there are these moments where they just love basking in themselves, and it's just them sitting around saying things that they want the audience to leave quoting.
Yep.
Just over and over again. And sometimes it works.
Yeah.
There are things, like, I hate Knocked Up, but there is one line in Knocked Up that I still quote all the time. It's when, just one of those random scenes for no reason where Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd are throwing insults at each other. And, Paul Rudd says, "You're Babe Ruth's gay brother." Gabe Ruth. I still use that one, but...
Your This Is 40 line that comes to mind, too.
The John Goodman?
No, the other one. The one with, what is that? What is
Chris
his name?
O'Dowd.
Chris O'Dowd, yeah.
Well, yeah, Chris O'Dowd should have been in this.
Why? He was in Epic instead.
He was late to the game, though, with the Apatow crew. He showed up in Bridesmaids, and I think that's where he got started with this.
Yeah, he was terrible.
But anyway, like they even go pretty over the top. Like there's a whole segment where Jonah Hill gets possessed, and they have to perform an exorcism on him. Now that sounds like they could be going in like a really over the top direction, but as far as just being references, first off, the scene where he gets raped by the demon was intentionally a direct lift from the scene in Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
He even says when Jonah Hill says, "This isn't a dream. This is really happening."
Mm-hmm.
That's like a direct line from Rosemary's Baby while it's happening.
Ah.
But so yeah, that's just a reference, and obviously you have a gold mine here. You have Jonah Hill possessed, and he's tied to a bed, and you have to exorcise him. And all they do is quote The Exorcist.
Yep, and they even call themselves out on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is kind of funny what Jonah Hill... I don't know how this works, but even when Jonah Hill's possessed by the demon, he still acts like Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Like, he's saying, the power of Christ compels you, and he's like, oh really, Jay, does it compel me? It's like, I gotta tell you, Jay, it's not very compelling.
It was funny.
So, like... That's the thing, though. The comedy's funny and it works. I just wish they had kind of, branched off a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like there is a funny joke where they have all the, they get together all the stuff that was in Franco's house that they have to live off of until they get rescued.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't know that Danny McBride's still alive. He's passed out in the bathtub upstairs. So, Danny McBride comes down after everybody's gone to sleep. And he makes everything. and he starts to eat it, and he gets rid of all the water to clean himself because he has no idea what's happened while he was passed out. And this onward pretty much makes Danny McBride the villain of the movie. Like there's even I was on Rotten Tomatoes and I saw character posters for everybody for this movie, and everybody has kind of like a scared look on their face, except for Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill has like this stoic look about him. I don't know, but anyway, and Danny McBride's is like really like creepy. So, you know, there's another plot point with Danny McBride at the end, but I won't, you know, bring that to light if you haven't seen it yet. There was, I was also a little disappointed in the fact that, it kind of showed that they it didn't feel like they had enough in them by that, because, one of the big things that was great, that got a lot of attention for this movie, was on April Fool's Day, they released the fake Pineapple Express 2 trailer.
That was awesome.
And people just thought that was a brilliant marketing campaign. As funny as that is, that's actually that whole segment is actually a scene from the movie itself.
Yep.
You know, it's like they could have, you know, they should have done one or the other. They should have either used it just for marketing, which would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
Or they could have made it a surprise when it showed up in the movie. But, you know, neither was the case. So, and I would have liked if they, it's kind of built up to, because they talk about at Franco's party. Franco pulls Broke into the side, and he's just like smoking a joint. He's like, hey man, we should like, you know, do a Pineapple Express too, because I got like you got a whole plot lined up, and it's about like Woody Harrelson like making Jonah Hill doing his Woody Harrelson.
That was funny.
It's the people's weed. But yeah, some of the jokes were, you know, spoiled. Like another one was I don't know if this was McBride's fault or but blame the editors too, because they could have just cut it out. But Jonah Hill was on Kimmel talking about his earring. Because they were trying to make douchey versions of themselves, basically, for this movie. Yeah. And Jonah Hill was talking about his joke that he was bringing to the table was he was at a press conference for Django, and he was sitting next to Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx had in an earring, and he was looking at it, and he was like, man, that looks so cool on Jamie. I'll bet it looked dumb as hell on me. Like, I should wear it throughout the whole movie and just let it be there and nobody say anything about it.
Of course.
Of course the earring gets brought up by Danny McBride once, and the joke's gone, but, you know. But, you know, and there's also, let's talk about everybody. Let's try to stay away from spoilers. Let's try to mention everybody we saw. Okay. Besides the main cast, there's, you see in the trailer, like, Michael Cera and Rihanna, and there's Jason Segel, there's David Krumholtz, Aziz Ansari, Kevin Hart, Paul Rudd. I didn't recognize Paul Rudd, because he never stands still. Like, he comes... That was him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
He came running and holding something, but I don't know what it was. I couldn't tell what was going on with him.
I know what he did, but I don't know if I called it a spoiler or not.
I don't know. Who's yeah, the thing with Paul Rudd was he just kept running around, and then eventually a woman tripped over, and he ran over her head and completely crushed it.
Thank you.
Was that somebody? Who was that?
I don't think so.
I think somebody screamed her name out when he accidentally killed her, but I couldn't tell who it was. But
Christopher Mintz-Plasse is in it.
Yeah.
He's got a really funny segment with Michael Cera. Mindy Kaling, everyone knows, and Emma Watson's in it. Even though that should have been something they should have kept under wraps. That should have been a cameo that no one knew about.
Emma Watson's name's on the poster.
But she shouldn't have been. That would have been perfect, though. That would have been a great, like, P.S.
Well, here's the thing. I actually read the script.
Numerous times.
Which is actually pretty close to what the movie really is. The Emma Watson stuff in the middle, when she comes back to rob them, is kind of, is new and, like, improvised. But when she's just hanging out in the backyard smoking a joint with Craig Robinson, in the script, that was Mila Kunis.
Nice.
So I don't know if that fell through or...
With his weird take yo panties off shirt.
Yeah.
Then they all, like, gather around the piano, and they're all high, and they're singing the song.
Yeah. I would like to inform you, when he was on Howard Stern, James Franco swears up and down he does not smoke weed anymore.
I buy that.
But anyway, that includes, apparently he was not high when he hosted the Oscars, despite popular belief.
There's different kinds of high, folks.
But yeah, there were some things they couldn't do, like in, I won't give anything away by saying this, but I'll just say, a big thing in the script was the use of Purple Rain. But obviously everybody knows, I don't even know why they bothered, everybody knows Prince will not give you music.
I think Kevin Smith might be the reason why Prince won't give anybody music.
Unless he does it for the movie like he did Batman.
Yeah.
But, when Whitney Houston shows up in the movie,
yeah,
her music, that's where Purple Rain was supposed to be.
Okay.
So, you know, which actually I think works better. I think it works out better the way it was in the movie than had it been Purple Rain.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because there's also this segment in the script where they're talking about it. Actually, Prince actually comes back because the first time is when they're all sitting in the room, and they're talking about a cock for some reason, and they're talking about, you know, the purple vein that goes through a cock or something.
Yeah, so they sing Purple Vein.
When somebody says purple vein, they start, you know, they change the lyrics.
That's hilarious.
But there are a lot of, like, everybody's, you know, making fun of themselves to extent. Everybody loves making fun of Franco for how weird he is, like, with his pretentious art, and he's, there's a funny thing with the Milky Way, where, the thing you see in the trailer where he says, "It's my special food," that actually goes on to, they all think he's really weird because the reason he thinks he should have the Milky Way is, right before the party, I went out to the gas station specifically just to get that Milky Way so that I could sit in a room by myself and eat it after the party.
I feel your pain, Franco. I feel your pain.
So, yeah, there's references everywhere. Like, they have he protects himself with the gun from Fly Boys.
That was fun. That was a reference I think we're the only ones in the entire theater who got.
He uses, the camera they're recording themselves with in the trailer is the camera from 127 Hours. And when they go into Franco's basement, he has a big cardboard cutout of himself in the Green Goblin outfit. And I love how Rogan actually registers it for a minute which one it is, because he sees, like, the Goblin outfit and he sees, like, the burn on his face, and he's like, "It's just a stand-up of you from Spider-Man 3. So, yeah, he gets called the Green Goblin a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about Michael Cera. Obviously,
he's all kinds of awesome in this movie.
The way you see him, like, in Superbad and Juno, where he's, like, really confined and he has, like, the quiet voice and, you know, he's not very confrontational or anything, apparently is the way he is in real life.
Yeah.
So it's a running joke in the Apatow crew to make Michael Cera look like a douchebag. Like, there's a special feature on the Superbad DVD that's called Everybody Hates Michael Cera. Where, like, every time he comes into the room, everybody runs away to avoid him. And there's a special feature on Knocked Up where it implies that he was going to be the Ben character before Seth Rogen got cast.
Wow.
But he and Judd Apatow get into this big stage fight, and he gets fired. And then there's a special feature on Youth in Revolt where he's, like, acting like a diva off screen. Well, now in this, he is a coked out sex addict.
He's amazing.
And, yeah, but, like, it's like, he goes right after Chris Roman's plot. It's like, "Hey, you want to see what's in my hand?" He just blows cocaine in his face.
Like, I've never done this stuff before!
And then Jonah Hill messes with him. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, man. It's just heroin." It's like, "I'm kidding. It's cocaine." But yeah, there was, and there's the scene where he keeps slapping Rihanna's ass. But the thing that I read was, the slap when Rihanna hits him is really loud. And the reason for that is because, he kept doing fake slaps to her ass, but Rogan was realizing that on camera you could tell it was fake. So they suggested having Sarah really slap her ass. But in order to compromise, she said only if she could slap Sarah in the face for real. So that's what happened in both cases.
He dropped.
And of course, there's the scene in the bathroom where he's got a girl on both sides of him.
She's breaking.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, they're like, they're talking about when they went out to the convenience store and they saw people getting sucked up in the blue orbs. And they're like, man, nobody got sucked up here. And Sarah's just in the kitchen. You hear him scream, I got sucked off here. And there's the awkward moment where Baruchel walks in on Michael Cera in the bathroom with these two women.
Yeah.
And then later on, Rogan's talking to him, and he's like, so I gotta ask you, man, is Michael Cera's butthole as cute as I imagined it? I imagined it like a little donut.
Little donut, yeah.
I
don't know. And that was like when they were walking into the convenience store. They were talking like out in the middle of the public too. They were saying these things.
Like the opening scene of Superbad.
Yeah,
when they go in the convenience store.
Everybody's totally oblivious to what's going on.
Let's talk about the gore for a second. This movie is actually pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
Like
the deaths in general were very gruesome.
Yeah. You see Michael Cera's death in the Red Band trailer.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of liked it in the trailer better. In the movie, he gets impaled with the light post. Well, he's running around frantic while everybody's trying to leave when the sinkhole's happening.
Yeah.
And he's screaming that somebody stole his cell phone. And the payoff is he gets impaled. And then as he's dying on this light post, he pulls out his cell phone out of his pocket and just says, oh, that's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing.
I actually like the line in the trailer is, he gets impaled and the blood sprays all over the whole crowd. And he looks up with blood in his mouth and goes, is it bad? The part with Aziz where he's hanging down the hole and Kevin Hart tries to kick him back in. What happened? Aziz loses his arms before he falls into the hole. What happened there?
I'm not exactly sure. There was so much going on at once. Everyone's falling into the sinkhole.
The scene where Paul Rudd, crushes the woman's head when he runs over her. The guy that gets decapitated when he sticks his head in the door.
Yeah.
And they're like, they pick his head up and it like Kill Bill's out. And then they kick it around.
It's a good segue for the next movie we're going to be reviewing.
Jesus. Like I said, there's a plot towards the end that involves cannibals, which is all I'll say about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that at all.
It's
If you don't know about cameos in the movie and you haven't seen it yet, don't look around and try to find the information. It's a lot funnier if you don't know what's going to happen. We knew exactly everything that was going to happen, and a couple of them still hit for me, but other than that, it's best that you don't know that everybody that's in this movie are in this movie.
Yeah, so it's,
Like, we're leaving out people specifically so you can find out for yourself.
And like I was, this is our 4th Franco movie this year. And he's actually not done yet, because just as soon as this movie came out, Homefront got a release date. Mm-hmm. Homefront is a movie starring him and Jason Statham, where he plays a meth dealer that Jason Statham goes after he retired.
This sounds awesome.
It should be. It comes out in October, I think.
So, yeah, I think that's what you told me.
So yeah, Franco is still, I've become like this enormous Franco fanboy, like the past...
You're a Francophile now?
Ever since 127 Hours, I think. Because, there's pretty... With the exception of Your Highness, which luckily they make fun of.
They made fun of in the movie, exactly.
I'll just I have appreciated him for much anything he does.
Yeah.
And, I'll defend him to the end. I don't care if he's weird and artsy.
Exactly.
And doesn't sleep.
Ever.
So, I pretty much look forward to anything he does from now on. Exactly. Especially writing and directing. As I Lay Dying should be getting a release, I would hope, before too long. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're a fan of everybody involved, this is going to be amazing for you.
Yeah.
So, like I said, critics are saying it's one of the funniest movies they've ever seen.
And I hate Danny McBride. I mean, and I know you don't like him either. But there's some points in this movie. I don't know what it was, but he actually got some laughs out of me.
I know you all tripping. James Franco didn't suck any dick last night. And of course, he's got toothpaste on his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did love how calm Franco is. He just cares about his house. He doesn't want anything to happen to his house. And they're the apocalypse has happened.
Yeah.
And they're all in this house, and they're all freaking out. And it's the morning. And Franco just casually comes down the stairs, like, with a bath towel, and he's, like, brushing his teeth.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
He sleeps, like, with his headphones and his mask on. Everybody's frightened, and he's, like, sound asleep. In the script, he's wearing a gas mask when he gets to bed.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, you know, you've probably already seen it by now if you were going to, but, you know, I just wish they'd expanded a little bit, but I'm sure I'll grow to love it more and more as I see it, I think.
I do have one thing to say. At the party, at the beginning of the movie, there is a back wall, and there's a lot of graffiti tags on the wall. And one of them says, like, where's the beef and everything, a lot of, like, 80s references. One of them says NKOTB forever. You know what I'm talking about, right?
What about it?
No, I think that was a reference that they kind of missed out on. I think if it would have been maybe several years ago when this movie would have been made, I think that another ending would have happened instead, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not giving anything away that way.
Okay, I see what you mean.
That should have been them, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, see, here's the thing is...
But I'm not saying who it was.
Well, here, I will say this.
But that's freaking awesome.
Like I said, I won't give anything away, but I will say, you know, if for some reason you've read the script,
yeah,
or are curious what the script reads, where the Whitney Houston scene is,
yeah,
where I said Purple Rain was originally going to be, that's where the script ends.
Really?
The ending after that is completely new, too.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's all I'll say.
Well, to me, I thought that would have worked, so you see where I'm coming from by saying that without me giving away anything. But I will say, if I would have hated the movie at all, that ending right there just brought everything up, like, tenfold. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So,
I won't spoil that one. That one's too good.
So, you know, that's about it for that.
Yeah, didn't talk that much about this at the end.
Well, there's not really, you know, too much to say. It's just... That's my only problem. I just wish the humor would have gone in more directions. I mean, I know there's only so much you can do, you know, having a bunch of actors trapped in a house, but...
Yeah.
You know... Something, surely.
Yeah.
Apart from... I mean, everybody loves that scene where Franco gets pissed off because he finds that Danny McBride has...
That's the greatest. That's hilarious.
...ejaculated into his porn magazine. And of course, they talk about, you know, with the internet and everything, it's your fault for jacking off like a pilgrim. Like, who still uses porn magazines? And they get into this...
Yeah.
I'll come over you, no, I'll come all over you, McBride, and it's just back and forth.
There was nobody in that theater, I don't think, that wasn't laughing hysterically when that part came out.
I do also love the, like I said, the references can be really funny. Like, I did love the scene where Jonah Hill is praying that God kills Jay Baruchel. And the way the prayer starts is, hey God, it's me, Jonah Hill, from Moneyball.
Yes! I was hoping you referenced Moneyball.
Yeah. They reference Jonah Hill's Oscar nomination, but they don't reference Franco's Oscar nomination. But I don't know.
Maybe because more people would remember Jonas because it's so new?
It was the year after Franco's.
I know that, but they don't.
You know, so let's move on to a completely different movie. Holy shit, this movie. Okay. I don't know if many of you are aware of a movie from 1980 called Maniac, which, what's the guy's name? It's Spinell, I think, Joe Spinell or something. He was a friend, he's dead now, but he was a close friend of Sylvester Stallone. He was in the Godfather movies and a couple of the Rocky movies.
Joe Spinell.
Yeah. He, like, you know, came up with the idea and he, like, wrote and he starred in the original. And it's about this guy who was abused as a child by his mom. Kind of like Norman Bates' relationship.
Yeah, that's what came to mind when you were telling me about it.
What happens is his job is he restores mannequins. So he has a shitload of mannequins in his house. So what he does is he goes out and he murders women. And he scalps them. And he takes their clothes. And he staples the scalps to the mannequins and then puts the clothes on them. And treats the mannequins like they're these girls. And if that doesn't creep you the fuck out, that's just the setup. Well, the original is like the ultimate grindhouse slasher movie. It's like everything you imagine when you think slasher movies. It's just him killing women, and the scenes are really suspenseful, and they're gruesome as all fuck. Tom Savini does the effects for it, so you know they're gonna be, even for 1980, they were fucking disgusting. Just, They're actually, obviously the new one can go all out with the gore because we're in the torture porn era, and it's, we have more effects these days. But there are scenes in the original that are grosser or more gross. Are more disgusting.
We'll go with
than
that.
Scenes in the new one. But the new one did something very interesting. It did a new take, a new way of telling it. The original is just a normal movie. It's just a normal slasher movie. Well, as normal as you can get as slasher movies are concerned.
Yeah.
But the executive producer is, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think I heard it said Aja once.
That sounds right.
He's the guy that directed High Tension and the Hills Have Eyes remake and Piranha 3D and Mirrors. Needless to say, this guy knows how to fucking gross people out with gore. Because all those movies... Mirrors isn't that gross, but the scene where Amy Smart pulls her jaw apart is one of the grossest things I've ever seen in my life.
It's nuts.
And of course, Piranha and High Tension and the Hills Have Eyes remake are known for just being just as absolutely disgusting as possible.
Oh, yeah.
The first scene of High Tension is that guy fucking a severed head.
Yep.
So, this guy is the guy that decided to remake Maniac, which was fucking disgusting as it was in 1980. And he's got the technology of today's movies at hand.
Recipe for disaster right there.
Well, here's the thing, is the movie actually did something very creative, and apparently it was his idea. The Maniac is now played by Elijah Wood, which I thought was a really weird casting choice, because the guy in the original movie was kind of a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Which Elijah Wood is anything but.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood's a scrawny little fuck.
Indeed he is.
But, the whole movie, in movies when you see, like, the camera as if you're seeing it from the person's perspective, literally. Kind of like those first-person shooter games. The whole movie from beginning to end is from his perspective. Elijah Wood's entire screen time comes from mirrors and reflections in windows. So, and I wasn't aware, like, I had heard about, like, it premiered at Cannes, not in competition, but it screened at Cannes a while back, last year. And I think I'd briefly heard about that, but it just kind of went out of my head, so I'd forgotten about it when I was watching the movie. And it's really, like, the first scene is just, we just see him sitting in his car, and of course, we get glimpses of him in his rearview mirrors, in his side mirror. And he's in his car, and he's slowly following along. It's like Stuntman Mike. He's just slowly following along this prostitute. Prostitutes are his favorite people to kill, apparently, because it's easy. He can just lure them in with money, and then he kills them.
Yeah.
In the remake, he uses the internet. He goes into a chat room, and his name isn't I'm Timid. Like, I am timid.
That's great.
Like, I don't like to show my face because, I'm timid.
That's hilarious.
So he meets up with girls in these chat rooms and then lures them back and kills them. But it's really, if you want to talk about scenes that just really pull you in, the opening scene is he's following around this girl, and he follows her up to her apartment. And she's just kind of, she thinks he might just be in the apartment. But then he sneaks up on her. And of course, she's facing us, because we see it directly from his perspective, like, she's just looking at us. And she kind of recoils, but he says, I'm sorry, I just had to say, you're so beautiful. And then he shoves a knife up through her head, and then pulls it out, and grabs her by the hair, and proceeds to scalp her right in front of us. Very graphically, too. And then her body just drops off the hair, and then the title comes up. Jesus Christ.
That's an intense way to start a movie.
So, as it goes, like, this is just what he does. He just does this all the time, every night. He's like Pinky in the Rain. It's like, he talks to him, I guess he's always talking to himself. I guess we're supposed to assume he's talking to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Because he's always, you know, screaming at himself, like, you do this every night, and, you know, it's like, you know, what are we going to do tomorrow night, Brain? The same thing we do every night.
Scout people.
So, the thing is the plot, it actually starts to have a plot because he falls in love with a girl he meets by chance. It's not somebody he was meaning to kill. He meets her by chance.
Mm-hmm.
In the original, it was just kind of it was barely there. Like, he met her, like, almost an hour into the movie. And it was just, you know, kind of there. But they use it as, like, the main plot for the new one, which, you know, still works. Because she's, like, in the fashion industry, so, of course, she has an interest in mannequins.
Of course.
So, she basically does business with him. But then, you know, things, you know, get worse because, like, you know, they hang out, you know, they go to movies together. Of course, they go see the fucking Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. There's a very interesting scene where there's a couple of times where he comes out of the point of view shot, but it's really brief. Like, when they're watching the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, he sees himself on the screen killing one. Like, the scene where the killer, like, has the knife and he's coming down on the woman as she's sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
He sees himself and her, you know, stuff like that. But then, you know, she gets a call when they leave the movie, and it's all like, hey, do you want to go have drinks with my boyfriend? And, you know, he suffers from migraines, or, like, when he cries, you know, we get, like, the screen gets blurry.
That's awesome.
We get a first-person point of view puke shot, too.
Oh.
Which was bizarre. We got that in Limitless, too, but
yeah.
It was weirder here because, you know, it was the whole thing. But there's, it is interesting the way it builds up the suspense, and the first-person point of view thing actually never grows tired. Like, it's a very interesting way. I don't want to, you know, jump on the, hey, I thought of it first bandwagon. I'm just saying, I have wondered if there ever had been, or if there was ever going to be a movie like that. Because it's I don't recall a movie has done it before.
It's a unique way to do something that hasn't been done to death, and that's something
a shitload of video games have been there.
Oh yeah, it's a video game shot.
But I've never seen a movie go there, especially through the whole thing. Not
even video game movies.
But you know, there's a couple of scenes. There's one scene where he's been chasing this girl around, and I don't know why they chose which shots to use, but one of them I can understand. I don't understand this one. He hides under a car, and she's coming. And while she's standing there trying to figure out where he is, he reaches out and he slices her heel.
Okay.
And she's wearing high heels, so the slice makes her trip and fall. And of course, when you're in a gruesome movie and you're wearing heels, when you trip and fall, your fucking bone has to come out of your... I don't know what that bone's called, but... And she's laying there, and he gets on top of her, and he starts to stab her in the back over and over and over again. For some reason, while this is happening, the camera spins around, and it's one of only 2 times where we come out of the point of view. And then, once he's killed her, we just go back to the point of view. I don't know what directorial choice that was for.
It's very strange.
But I can kind of see why they would bring it out for this. Okay, scalpings are fucking gross, and they're disgusting, and they make your head hurt to watch. But, you know, it's like when you see them in Bastards, like, they hold the hair and they just cut all the way back, and then it just pulls off. And that's the way he does it. He holds the hair and he just, you know, saws maniacally until the hair just comes off. Well, there's one girl he particularly doesn't like. It's the girl he loves, Agent. And he tracks her down to her house and watches her take it's a really creepy scene because she's in the bathtub. And she's, you know, in the water, and she's laying there, but she's got a washcloth over her eyes.
Mm.
And he's standing right over her, and he's, like, got his hand, like, right above the water, and he's actually, like, dipping his hand in a little bit, and she doesn't know he's there.
Wow.
But then, you know, she senses it, and she pulls the washcloth off, and at first I thought he drowned her, but he just kind of made her unconscious. He held her underwater long enough to where she lost consciousness, and then he hogtied her, in the bed. And then we come out of the point of view shot again. Remember, the method is you hold the hair and you saw all the way back and it pulls off.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was anger. He also started talking to her like she was his mom. I don't know why she made him think that, but he holds her hair and he saws just right here, and then he rips the rest of it off.
God.
Oh, God. This movie is hard to sit through. But at the same time, it's really effective. So, when I say it's like, sometimes movies are just unpleasant, and they're bad because of it. But then there's movies like this where you have to give them credit because it's hard to sit through because of how effective they make it.
Yeah.
But the big money scenes, I won't say exactly what's going on with these scenes because it's a spoiler, but the same scene is in both movies. He has a vision. Jesus. He has a vision. Okay. Where, he's laying in bed, and the mannequins come to life.
Okay.
And they attack him. And they're missing their brains and their skulls are exposed and everything. And they get their revenge on him in this vision he's having. It's like a nightmare. And when they attack him, they literally start ripping him apart.
Okay.
Like, they grab his arm and they rip it off. And these effects are so fucking disgusting. And it was actually grosser in the original movie than it was in the remake. In the remake, they're ripping his face off after they've dug and pulled out his insides and ripped his arms and legs off. And in the original, they climb on top of him and they grab his head and they snap his neck and then rip his head off. And then they rip his body open. It's enough to make you lightheaded.
Yeah, I can see that.
But anyway, there's the scenes like that. But then, for the most part, it's, the gore is just the scalpings. Like, the scene at the beginning where he meets up with the girl in the chat room, and we get our first glimpse of, I was wondering, what's the point of casting Elijah Wood if you're always at a point of view shot? Because Elijah Wood's pretty talented. But then, of course, we're at his second victim in the movie. And something's going to go wrong for a woman, because I don't know if this was a reference or if they just thought it would work for the scene, but this woman should have known she was in danger because she says, "Let me put on some music." Do you know what she puts on? I'm not kidding. Goodbye, Horses.
Oh! Yeah, she's done.
And of course she says, "Let me go slip into something a little more comfortable," and she leaves and she comes back in her underwear. Goodbye Horse is still playing, and of course she says, let's, do this, and she throws him down on the bed. Of course, we get our first shot of Elijah Wood. There's a giant full-length mirror on her ceiling.
Oh, God.
And that's where Elijah Wood gets a lot of his screen time in this scene. So, but yeah, these are, good scenes. There's one scene that kind of baffled me, which is, he's looking, it's a lot like the beginning of Mr. Brooks, the dancing and all. He's looking up at this window and he sees a like those little dance studios where people Well, this one dancer catches his eye. And he goes, "This is also to give us some slasher movie nudity." Because everybody loves that. I kind of wish, this kind of killed the suspense, because these scenes are really suspenseful. Because you don't know when he's going to attack or if he's going to get caught. Especially, that's another way the first person point of view really works. Because you don't know, well, I'll get to that scene in a second. I gotta stay focused where I'm at. He goes up and he follows this dancer around, and of course he hides in the closet in her dressing room. And she's topless and she's got the towel and she's in the mirror and he's breathing heavily, so she thinks she senses something in the closet. And she's just about to go and check, but then her friends come in, and she's like, "Hey, guys, wait outside for me. I'm getting a little creeped out in here." So she sits back down and he's still in the closet. And then there's just a cut, and he's outside the building, and they're coming out, and then he follows her some more. when did he get out of the closet and how is... I really would have liked to have seen how that scene played out.
Yeah, no lie.
But no, there was just a cut, and...
Fire escape?
There was a dressing room. How's he going to get out of the closet without her seeing him?
Yeah.
But, you know, the movie doesn't want to answer that, so they just cut. Let's see. The dancer is who he sliced, you know, and stabbed, and he brought out of the point of view. Yeah, the gore in this movie, actually, this is saying a lot, if you know what I'm talking about. The gore in this movie and the remake almost put the Evil Dead remake to shame. As far as how disgusting it is. But, you know, it's very ambitious to do a movie like that from the point of view perspective. And it takes a lot of talent to be able to actually pull it off the way it does. So, you know...
Well...
I'm obviously not in love with this movie. But... and it's not one, you know, I'd watch again, but, you know, it's admirable from a perspective.
You were talking about how you haven't had a horror movie in the past that's done first-person perspective before.
Any movie at all.
Yeah, there's something... Actually, it's not... It's... Okay. The reason why it uses first-person perspective is because it's done in the guise of a video game. It's brain scan. The kills in brain scan in the middle of the movie all are first-person kills.
It's also... It's very interesting, because it kind of gives you a personal conflict, too.
Yeah.
Because when he's chasing this dancer, he's just kind of, you know... She's on one side and he's on the other. Or no, he starts behind her, and of course she, you know, realizes that he's following her. So she goes to the other side, and they're walking. And then she realizes that she's being chased by him. So she, you know, she starts to scream obscenities at him and say, "Leave me alone," you know, "fuck off." And then she starts to run. And she's all the way up here running away, and obviously we're seeing it from his perspective, and he's trying to catch her.
Mm.
It makes you wonder, we're seeing things from his perspective, do we want him to catch her, or do we want her to get away? It's like you don't really know where to put yourself.
Your internal monologue is fighting itself.
Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of cool, actually.
That is interesting.
So, yeah, if you're like really into horror movies and you want something new, you should look into this, because even though it's a remake, it's about as original as it gets as far as execution. No pun intended. So, I think that's about it for that. So,
next week?
I don't think I'm missing anything.
No?
Next week is World War... the two movies that might as well be companion pieces because they have so much in common. World War Z and Monsters University. I don't know if there's going to be a third one or not.
It's going to be Francis Ha and Before Midnight.
Yes, that is this week.
Yes.
Okay, so wow, that's going to be busy.
Long video. And this was only three movies we talked about today.
Yeah, how long did we go? An hour and 33, Jesus.
Good lord, this is the longest video so far. Well, maybe not.
No, the
Iron Man?
After Earth and all them was like 2 hours, I think.
It's got like almost 100 hits now. There's going to be some stuff coming in the near future. AJ's going to be doing a segment starting this weekend called Versus, which we're going to be talking about the original Wizard of Oz taking on Oz the Great and Powerful. We're going to compare and contrast them.
As well as other movies that can be compared or are similar.
Yep.
And seeing which one's better.
Starting in July, we have the Summer of Tarantino, which AJ is going to talk about all the Quentin Tarantino films, all the ones you know and love, and some of the ones you probably didn't even know that were in. So, that's what we got coming up very soon. So, yeah. He doesn't have a Twitter handle, so we're not going to promote that. So,
I don't like social.
No, you don't.
So, I guess until then, that's it.